Welcome to Gapology Radio with your hosts Mark Tinas and Brian Brokoff, authors of the leadership development books Gapology, IMBAR, and Speed of Purpose. At Gapology, our purpose is to help leaders achieve their greatest potential. To learn more about our groundbreaking books and training services, visit our website, gapology.org.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gapology Radio. If you're instructing your team in Gapology, or they're going through the online video-based course on udemy.com, and they feel like they need a little help, well, assign our supplemental Gapology workbook to them as well. It really enhances the subjects from the book and provides space for capturing their thoughts and answers to the many activities. It's a great resource to bring the concepts, methods, and tools to life. You can order them on amazon.com and find links on our website, gapology.org. And as for tonight, we'll be discussing a secret weapon used consistently by winning leaders. So let's go ahead and jump right in with Mark Tinas. Hey Mark, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's heating up here in Kansas City, and I know it's been hot out there, and we've talked about that the last few weeks. But I think you're getting a little break. Did you do some traveling this week? I think you're on the road, right?
Yeah, I'm up in Oregon. It's a little bit cooler, but it's warm and smoky.
Oh, okay.
A lot of fires in the area up here, so not too much of a break.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you'd get some. The smoke, it's interesting. So here in KC, you walk outside and it's blue skies. You know, there's no clouds really today, but it's hazy. It's got this weird haze. And they were talking about it on the news that it's really the smoke that's coming from Northern California and Canada.
Yeah, there's like 8 fires burning currently in Oregon. So a lot of this smoke is from that. So,
yeah.
But it sounds like they've got it under control or getting it under control.
Well, hopefully. Yeah, definitely. So we have a good topic tonight. And I'm excited for you to share the secret weapon with our listeners. In the little recording that I do beforehand to intro the show, I didn't say what the weapon was. So Mark, you want to kick it off? Share what the leader's secret weapon is? Yeah.
So this is a big deal. And Brian wrote about it in Gapology Inspirations as well. There's a section on it. But leaders need to listen more than speak. And part of their leadership needs to be asking questions. And that's the secret weapon, is asking questions. When you ask questions, you learn a great deal. You learn a great deal about the team. You learn a great deal about your leadership and all kinds of stuff. And most leaders don't effectively use this secret weapon. They talk and they tell. And that can really stand in their way. So if they were to substitute a big chunk of that with listening and observing, they become so much better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think you can see it demonstrated in multiple areas. Certainly if you're doing like in-person visits, for instance, if you're a field leader, you're meeting with a local team or something, you can definitely see it there. You can also see it like in meetings, just if you're sitting in your normal meeting, either virtual or in person. I think, when you step back and you look at how much the leader speaks versus the rest of the team. And one more thing that I think we need to really think about is the type of listening. So there's the type of listening that I think most people do where they're really thinking about how they're going to reply, if that makes sense, versus really listening for the purpose of understanding the other person, focusing on their words and their meanings behind their words and all of that. I think we really need to often slow down our brains a bit and really focus on what the person is saying and stop trying to think about just what we're going to say next.
Yeah. And so learn the secret weapon, leaders. It will benefit you immensely. And by the way, it is totally aligned with Gapology. It helps you clearly see the knowledge gap, the importance gap, and the action gap. So we'll get to that in a minute, but it's a piece of Gapology. So the first thing I would tell you is it's a very positive thing for the team. if the leader asks questions. It causes them to learn. So by formulating their answer, thinking it through, it causes them to learn. Whatever you're, asking questions about, it will cause them to be better at that and think about it. And the habit of you asking questions, once they know that that is part of your leadership, it will cause them to be much more prepared to answer the questions, which again creates learning. So they actually improve significantly by you asking questions.
Oh yeah, I think it creates kind of that proactive thinking that you want your team to do. You don't want them to just react to whatever you tell them to do. You want them thinking about this stuff whenever you're not there. It's really that independent thought, that wisdom that you're trying to build. One other thing I'd throw in there too is it's critically important, especially after you listen to this podcast and you want to go back and jump in and do all these things that Mark's going to go through. Create the culture first. Just make sure that your team isn't caught unaware of, the behavior change. If you come in and just where you normally spend 3/4 of your time telling them what to do, and all of a sudden now you come in and you just ask questions, and you have this dramatic change, it can really throw the team. So think about how you're going to, institute all these things.
Yeah, let them know.
Yep.
Let them know you're working on your own leadership. And part of that is to ask more questions and listen more. And that's a big deal. And the other thing that does is it models a behavior for the other leaders that work for you and helps them develop their own leadership.
Yeah.
The other big benefit of the leader asking questions and listening is it causes the leader to learn a lot and to self-reflect about their own leadership. It really puts your leadership on display. When you ask questions and the team nails it, that tells you a lot about you. When you ask a question and the team doesn't know what you're talking about, that may tell a lot about you if it's something you've been telling them about. So it causes significant learning in the team and significant learning in the leader. And again, it's a great behavior that you model for others that they can carry forward. Great organizations listen, and they listen more than they speak.
Yeah, I love that, Mark. It really does change how you do your job. When you have more information, you react differently, you behave differently. I think it's really critical for the leader to, lead by asking questions. It just fills in all the gaps that you have.
Yeah, and one thing that leaders may want to do is ease into this, especially if it's a significant change in behavior. Ease into it. Tell the team about it, but ease into it.
Yep.
Spend 20% of your time asking questions, initially. Just begin with a little bit of it, and it will grow and grow. I was listening to on Audible a book called Atomic Habits. Very good book. And it teaches you how to create habits. And one of the key methods is you do want to ease into new habits. And in this case, if it's a change for you, easing into it will be good for the team, but will also be good for you. And you can grow your percentage of listening, over the course of a number of months, and it'll really work well, becoming a habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does value their knowledge, their opinions, their viewpoints. It demonstrates that you have a culture of collaborative thinking where it's not just your viewpoint and your way of things, but it kind of builds the overall culture that I think most leaders want to try to create. And I like that what you said there, Mark. The easing in, yeah, that's definitely important. That 20% balance of asking questions, I think that's a great balance, because that 20% is going to drive 80% of the conversation from them then. So then they're sharing, hey, these are the things that we're doing. These are the things that matter. This is, where we're succeeding. This is where we're struggling. If you can get your team to be sharing that, yeah, you're learning. Absolutely. And they're learning as well.
Yeah. And think how it affects them when they know you're visiting with them again a month from now, as an example. They're going to be better prepared. They're going to think about it. It's going to have a positive impact on their behavior between now and then. So it's really going to grow. So when we talk about it as a secret weapon, we're not kidding. It is of great significance. Well, let's talk about how it applies to gapology and how it closes the knowledge gap. I guess the knowledge gap is the most obvious one, but as we've talked about before, the knowledge gap is the largest gap. It's the biggest gap you've got to close. So by asking questions and listening, you're going to really get a clear sense and have the ability, if there's any issues, to close that knowledge gap. How would you describe its impact on the knowledge gap, Brian?
Yeah, I think that really clarifies the things that the team needs to understand and do. Right. So the knowledge gap is the what and the how. So what do they need to know? How do they need to do it? And your viewpoint when you come in might not be where the actual knowledge gaps are. You might think that your knowledge gap is in a certain place, or the team's knowledge gap is in a certain place, but you're only going to be able to close it if you start asking the questions like, so how do you do this? Walk me through this process, those types of things. That's where you're going to gain that knowledge there. I would absolutely start there, use the model and work your way through it.
Yeah. And again, self-reflect. It'll help
Right.
you see your own leadership.
Mm-hmm.
It then goes so far in closing the importance gap. When you're asking questions and you're listening to those answers, you are going to really understand the importance gap. Either it's closed or it's not, and what the challenges are. And again, this gives you a significant opportunity to clarify and to close that importance gap if it exists. And you want to do that again after the knowledge gap. So you do want to look at the sequence here of events and go for the knowledge gap first, then go for the importance gap, before creating the action.
Yeah, I think what you said there is key, Mark. Just asking the questions around why things are important, that it will certainly close the importance gap, but it really does cement why things are important, why things matter, why policies, procedures, processes are put in place. It also does, I think, reinforce any direction that you're giving. So if you're giving direction on something, you're saying, hey, this is an expectation that I have behaviorally, and then never ask any questions to follow up about it, it really diminishes, those expectations. Building strategic questions into your leadership rhythm ahead of time and then asking those on every visit, that's absolutely going to close your importance gap.
Yeah, and you think of the significance. Let's say you were speaking about asking questions about a new process, and you ask the team, why does this process matter? I mean, that conversation and having the team have clarity around why it matters is huge, changes everything. So when you're just telling, you don't know if they got it or not. You don't know what they heard. When you ask questions, you know what they heard. So secret weapon, game changer. Don't underestimate it. And again, it's not going to take you more time. It may be an adjustment in your leadership behavior. And again, if you do it gradually, I think it'll be quite easy, but it can have significant impact on results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then the action gap, comes down to, when it's going to happen and, what they're actually going to do, deadlines, project deadlines, completion deadlines, et cetera. Critical again, that closes, the gap after the knowledge, importance, and action. And questions around that, again, are totally appropriate and sort of seal the whole conversation. And again, picture them giving you the date and the deadlines, or, whatever it applies to. And what a significant follow-up tool you then have as a leader because you ask questions. It wasn't your timeline, it was theirs. It creates a clarity that you can't get otherwise.
Yeah. When you said, when you were talking about that, Mark, I was thinking of the commitment ladder. And one way to really drive commitment is to have the the other person come up with the timelines and the process and all of that. And you can really do that through asking these questions. So what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Who are you going to involve? What are your timelines? What are your milestones that you're going to do check-ins? Asking those kinds of questions. Number one, it gives them the power to really lay it all out in the way it makes sense for them to execute it. But then it also, for you, it gives you then follow-up pieces that you can then say, okay, so, these are our agreed upon timelines and so forth. You can then document that and then use that as your follow-up and offering support or coaching or whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So the other thing we've learned, and this goes back to Gapology again, in Gapology, we talk about the A team, which is the top 10% of performers, and the C team, which is the bottom 10% of performers. When the leader listens and the leader leads with questions and observation, they will have a very good understanding of the A team and the C team. They may have already seen it in the results, but also then it'll be crystal clear. The other thing that will be clear often is the reason why the A team is the A team and the C team is the C team. And you can learn so much, and you can also therefore learn how to help the C team and likely a bunch of the B team, the middle 80% as well, help them get better and perform at a different level. So by you listening, the clarity around A, B, and C becomes much clearer. And again, what to do about it will be there as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, this whole topic is all about asking questions. And the whole purpose, I guess, for the leader, from the leader's perspective, is that the leader is closing his or her own knowledge gaps by asking questions, observing, standing back, not talking, but just observing the behaviors of the team does the same thing. As you're describing that, I was just picturing it. It's just like the physical embodiment of asking questions, just standing back and just watching what's going on.
Yeah, observing is very much like listening, and it can be the same thing. Depends on what business you're in, what process you may be, rolling out, et cetera. But observation and listening are very similar. They also enhance each other. So from your observation, you can form a series of questions to ask. And they'll become rather obvious.
Oh, yeah.
So they go hand in hand. So again, picture a leader who starts asking a lot more questions, listening a lot more, and observing a lot more.
Right.
Versus telling or showing, let me show you how to do that. It will make you a better leader. It will make your team better at execution, and the leaders that surround you will get better as well. So it really can have a big enhancing impact on everyone.
Right. Yeah. It really validates the importance gap, I think. So you can ask somebody, what do you need to do? Why is it important? You can ask them, and if they've had the training at the beginning and they understand it, they can repeat it back. But observing is their demonstration of what's important. So, if they feel like there's, I have these 10 things that I'm responsible for, these are the 2 or 3 things that are important to me, I'm going to do those. So you as a leader, by standing back and observing, you can validate that and see if that lines up with the prioritization that you've laid out as a leader.
Yeah. So that this can be huge. I mean, by asking questions, the leader learns a great deal about the team. They learn about themselves and their own leadership. They learn about the process or whatever it is that they're asking about or observing. And that creates great execution. It allows them to clearly see the A and C teams and why they're A and C. It closes, the knowledge, the importance, and the action gap. So it is a secret weapon, and it is literally simple to begin. And again, I would challenge you to begin it gradually, but begin shifting your leadership from telling to asking questions, and let us know how it goes, because we think it will have an incredible impact. And we're very proud to present this to you tonight. That's all I've got, Brian. What do you have in closing?
Yeah, I just have one more thought that occurred to me. So the types of questions I think are important to consider, and you can really define the stuff going into it, but you want to ask open-ended questions that invite conversation, invite more than just a yes or no or one-word answer or a specific response to a type of question that you ask them. So avoid that. Ask things like, so how would you do this, or how do you do this, or why should you be doing this? When will you be doing this? Ask questions like that versus those closed questions. Keep them as open as possible. That invites the conversation, and it feels less confrontational, I think, because you're inviting conversation. So just consider that as well. I think that's just an additional tip there.
Yeah, open-ended questions are key. That's a great point. Don't ask questions with the answer inserted into the question.
Yeah.
Tell me why you like this new process.
Right. Yeah, leading questions. Yeah, avoid those.
Yeah, avoid those. Ask open-ended questions. Allow them to give you a real answer. And again, the impact can be of great significance.
Yep.
So, well done.
Right. Sounds great, Mark. This is good. I will let you go. Safe travels.
Thank you. And stay out of the smoke.
Yeah, will do. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that'll do it from here. For more information on Gapology and the Gapology Workbook, head on over to our website, gapology.org. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been a Gapology Institute production. Visit us at gapology.org.